All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Victorious Ones podcast, a place where gaming meets comics, meets sports, as well as movies and inspiration. Of course, my name is King Von Jr. You can follow me on social media on Twitter at 301 King Von Jr. Of course, you can follow the show's Twitter page at Big 3 Pod 1. I'm also on Instagram at Mr. King Von Jr. You can follow the show's Instagram page, IG page at Victorious Ones Podcast. And of course, I also have all my episodes and articles up on Victorious Ones Podcast at WordPress.com. and it's an mouthful. And of course, on Mondays, I'm also the social media producer for the Unpopular Review Wrestling Show Perfect Plex Talk Radio on Mondays at 6. And so, so I just gotta say that it's time to really just hit the ground running. And it's been quite a week of news, events, happening within within the world of sports entertainment. And of course the big highlight of course is none other than Monday night of course of the NFL season. And and of course for those that haven't been following the show, I not only cover wrestling but also cover sports, especially basketball and football. And so of course this week was certainly a great week for me when it comes to the NFL. Football season is officially in the air, and so of course, like I said, we're going to talk about that. Also, I'm going to cover episode 5 of Ahsoka, which is by far the best episode of this entire season. It's been phenomenal. We're also going to cover episode 6 of Winning Time. That as well as of course everything going on when it comes to wrestling. So that's really the rundown, if you will. And of course at the end of the show, certainly gonna have some big announcements as well. So of course make sure to stay tuned to that also. And of course, by the way, at youtube.com / Von Resper Jr. And so of course I definitely want to hit the ground running without further ado. Hold on. Sorry about that. So like I say, like I said, this past week, of course when it comes to football, like I said, there's certainly a fair share of surprises, some nice games, some other games that are like so, and we've seen our fair share of upsets, and so it's just like the good, bad, ugly, and everything else in between when it comes to this start of the NFL season. So with the way the season starts, is going to be very interesting to say the least. So I'm going to go on and look at the look at the scores. Now the season started off with quite a surprise when it came to last Thursday's game between the Chiefs and the Lions on Thursday Night Football, and of course it was held in Kansas City, where the Lions upset the Chiefs 21-20, and they looked absolutely incredible. And the Chiefs were definitely missing Travis Kelce, and they lost some of the biggest receiving weapons. So like I said, of course, the Lions upset the Chiefs 21-20, even though I did not rule out an upset whatsoever. And by the way, I'm also, also part of the Your Sports Fantasy League, like ESPN Fantasy League. So of course, shout out to them. Shout out to Dre, Mike Bosick, Janelle, and everybody else over there. Of course, my heart, my thoughts and prayers out to you when it comes to the New York football teams. That's another story. Of course, moving on from that, like I said, the Lions beat the Chiefs, and then of course on Sunday, the Browns demolished the Bengals 24-3. Certainly lost a number of fantasy points with that. Burrow made 82 yards in that game, but that's so whatever. Like I said, of course, the Browns torched the Bengals 24-3. The Ravens defeat the Texans 25-9. They weren't, looking exactly like world beaters, but still. The Buccaneers defeat the Vikings 20-17, a bit of an upset. Falcons defeat the Panthers 24-10. The Commanders defeat the Cardinals 20-16. And of course, the first the first game of the season with with Magic in charge. Like I said, they definitely had a great first impression. Commanders defeat the Cardinals 20-16. The Jaguars defeat the Colts 31-21. The Niners just bombed the Steelers out in Pittsburgh 30-7. And of course, the Saints defeat the Titans 16-15. The Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders, that is, defeat the Denver Broncos 17-16. Philadelphia Eagles defeat the New England Patriots 25-20. And of course, Tom Brady was honored at halftime, or whatever that's worth. Anyway, upside down. But anyway, the Rams defeat the Seahawks 30-13. Dolphins defeat the Chargers 36-34. Tua Tagovailoa looked incredible. The Packers defeat the Bears 38-20. Jordan Love was absolutely phenomenal in that game. Aaron Hoop. And of course, the game of the week. How about them Cowboys, baby? The Dallas Cowboys shut out the New York Football Giants 40-0. 40 to goose egg. A shutout, shut them down. The Cowboys beat the Timberlands off the Giants, knocked them out their Tims. They beat, they beat them like, I'll say it like this. The Cowboys beat the Giants like they stole some shoes out of Foot Locker. It was ugly. The Giants, it's like they forgot that there was game. I guess they took an extended vacation after Labor Day. Like I said, they would nowhere to be found, non-existent, not even as much as a field goal or even a safety for that matter. Nothing, nil. And so of course, grand opening, grand closing for the New York Giants. Of course, I've been getting my jokes off. When it comes to the Giants, I never seen nothing like it. They beat them so bad that Times Square, they beat them so bad that Times Square basically shut down. It's just like, it's just like the lights were on, but nobody was home. It was horrific. So it's just like, the funny thing is, I guess funny thing about the fact that, of course, we all know Queen Latifah could sing. She did incredible. I think they would have had a better chance if she came out and did "You Will Not See Why," because they need to be unified. And so clearly, like I said, if anything, you want to talk about the city that never sleeps, they definitely went to sleep. And I'll just say it like this: Lawrence Taylor did not come through that door. Michael Strahan did not come through that door. Phil Simms clearly did not come through that door. They could have used him as give them a better chance. Like I said, Eli will certainly not come through that door, or anybody else that you want to name when it comes to the Giants. If anything, like I said, the Cowboys' defense look like world beaters. They're the ones that that carried the game more than anything. And so I know I've certainly spent a lot of time. But hey, remember, this is a Pro Dallas Cowboys podcast. So I know I had one that actually had the other logo on, had the other patches on it. Oh, here it is. Wait a minute. There you go, right here. I'm not gonna be one of those people who claim they're gonna go to the Super Bowl or anything like that. It's one game at a time. But that was certainly a great, like I said, incredible way to kick off the season. And like I said, that was the game of the week. The Cowboys annihilating the New York Giants 40-0. It was absolutely incredible. And of course, I want to give a shout out to Backstage Brawl. If they happen to be watching this on a replay or anything like that. But yeah, like I said, of course, I'm pretty sure that this next episode of Job Tier is going to be very interesting to say the least. Like I said, of course, the Cowboys smoked the Giants 40-0, so I just had to get my jokes off and get my memes off, stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it was absolutely amazing. It was straight up demolition. So it is see if I can share real quick. There it is right there. Absolute demolition. Wait a minute. Actually, this is all but this one right here, especially. This is what I really want to focus on. This right here. Like, how in the world do you do that? Like, how in the world do you not have a single point whatsoever? But yeah, like I said, I'm just, just getting a little trash talk on. So of course with that, and then Monday night was very intriguing to say the least, because of the fact that like I said, so sorry about that. But yeah, like I said, because of the fact that you had the Bills versus the Jets on Monday Night Football, and of course it was on 9/11. So of course my thoughts and prayers go out to the families and victims of a devastating and tragic time in history. And so so of course of course as usual. When it comes to the 9/11 game, everybody unites and actually unites and bands together. And of course this happened to be of course all that aside, that the biggest takeaway, talking point of this game was was Aaron Rodgers' injury, and how how he had gone out with of course now Aaron Rodgers is out for the entire season. After the first game, after one play, and so I think Aaron Rodgers' stat line read as like 0 for 1 for 0 yards, and and of course for him to get carted off like that, and like I said, in fact it was very unfortunate. For that to happen, but it was such a surprise. It was very, very sudden. There was something that that nobody, including myself, ever expected. And so, so it's just like, Jets fans just got cheated. I seriously feel that way. Feel as though they got cheated, they got shortchanged, they got robbed. Robbed without a gun. That's pretty much what I see when it came to this Aaron Rodgers signing, and like I said, it's very unfortunate, especially with the guy that's on, especially with someone like that who's on the verge of 40, and it's going to be very, very hard, very difficult for him to come back from such a devastating injury. So that's the wrap up. But that's the wrap up. When it comes to NFL Week 1, and so each week I'm going to do a recap of each NFL game. And the things like I'm doing something different than what I did last year. Whereas last year I just did top 10 lists of the greatest players of different positions, like top 10 quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers. So I want to at least dig a little bit deeper when it comes to this type of coverage. And so so like I said, so that's the wrap up when it comes to NFL Week 1. And so now I want to move on. Like I said, I want to move on to do my recap of Winning Time, Season 2, Episode 6, Beat LA. So in this episode, it picks up where the Lakers defeat the 76ers in the 1982 NBA Finals, and Magic goes on to win the second Finals MVP award, and so that's something like that they'll start starting to to turn the fortunes of the franchise around, and so but the thing about it is that even with that, the Lakers continue to, um, like I said, even with that, the Lakers going to face, have their fair share of turmoil and fair share of controversy and things like that. And of course, there's certainly trouble going on, you know, within the Lakers campus, especially with the news of Norm Nixon eventually getting traded. And so, actually, the news, of Norm Nixon hits after, and of course, the Nixon trade takes place after the Lakers lose to the Philadelphia 76ers in the 1983 NBA Finals. Of course, that was the first only time that the 76ers ever defeat the Lakers in the finals. And so, so of course with that, there's at this point there's certainly certainly at this point you can certainly see a cloud hang over the Lakers' head, with the loss to the 76ers, and then let's just say trouble in paradise when it comes to Norm Nixon. The fact that Norm had gotten traded the day of his birthday, and goes on to play for the Clippers. And I like how they show the I like how they briefly showed Debbie Allen, right? Well, not the real Debbie Allen, but of course the reenactment, if you will. Like I said, I like that, and also I also like how they talk about drafting James Worthy, right, out of North Carolina, being an NCAA champion. And his teammate was a freshman by the name of Michael Jordan. So I like how they had Jerry West break the fourth wall. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, like I said, this is a point where the Lakers lose to the 76ers, and so they're seen as being more vulnerable. So if anything, this is the next to last episode of this season, where things come full circle where they go face to face finally with the Boston Celtics. When it comes to Magic versus Bird for the first time ever in the finals. And so of course, like I say, this is definitely going to be, this last episode is definitely going to be shaping up to be something very climactic. It's going to be very, very interesting. And like I said, I know I've definitely been doing my part to support the show, and just to give my support, because of the fact that I like to see the way, even though I know the story, but I like to see it play out, like when it comes to Lakers versus Celtics. Even though the Lakers ended up losing the first time, but they bounced back and beat the Celtics twice in the finals. Spoiler alert, but not really a spoiler alert. But anyway, but of course, so if anything, that is my recap so far when it comes to One in Time, season 2, episode 6. And so now I want to go into like one of my recap and my review of Ahsoka episode. This was like episode 5. Yeah, like I said, this is Ahsoka episode 5. So from where we last left off, Ahsoka loses to Thrawn, and so of course afterwards, Sabine is like nowhere to be found at this point. Of course, this episode, has no traces of Sabine whatsoever. So by the way, Sabine is the young upcoming Jedi that Ahsoka is training. But in this, of course, in this particular episode, they think, it seems as if, at first, at the end of episode 4, it almost seems as if Ahsoka died because of the fact that, because she has seen Anakin, so one would think that, with her, like I said, with her communicating with Anakin Skywalker, one would think that she somehow died. But the truth is she didn't. And I figured that she wouldn't, because it's just like, it's like, why would you, why would you kill off such a valuable character like that? But in this particular episode, it's certainly a callback to the Rebels animated series. For think about, for those that are familiar with Star Wars, especially when it comes to the history of Ahsoka Tano and Anakin Skywalker. Like I said, when it comes to Rebels and Clone Wars and things like that, Ahsoka is like I said, Ahsoka is a Jedi in training that that was trained by Anakin himself. So like I said, so Ahsoka was what was called Padawan. So so of course she learned from Anakin. Like I said, like she was his student. And so this episode, we see Ahsoka. In this episode, we see Ahsoka communicating with Anakin Skywalker. And so this episode, is all about callback to Rebels and Clone Wars and things like that. And so in this episode, we see Anakin training Ahsoka. So this episode is all about, all about Anakin training her and really just taking her through a journey. So this whole time, like I said, Ahsoka's taking a journey through her life from when she was a kid. Like I said, like when she was a kid, from the first time that Anakin ever trained her. And so so another thing I like about it is the fact that it's the fact that Anakin is wearing his outfit from, like I said, from the animated show. What I mean. And so as far as that, like I said, the fact that Anakin is taking Ahsoka through this journey, through this journey of her life, and so it's like witnessing the Clone Wars and everything like that. And so the whole time, this, like I said, this journey through history is part of Ahsoka's training. And so of course eventually we see Ahsoka and Anakin have a lightsaber battle. And so, and not only that, but eventually later on, Anakin starts to show up via the dark side, and so Ahsoka has to defeat him in order to, defeat him in order to complete her training. And so, so of course, eventually Ahsoka does that, and so, so of course, at the end of the episode, Ahsoka wakes up, and so of course by this point, I believe that she's fully established and ready to take on this assignment of being a leader, because she trained with Anakin, even though this was the Force Ghost version of Anakin, and the fact that she was able to communicate with him, shows how powerful of the Jedi that she really is. And so, so I definitely enjoyed this lightsaber battle between Ahsoka and Anakin, and this is, like I said, this was definitely another shot in the arm for the show. You know what I mean? And the thing is, the show's been looking great so far, but I think that this episode really took it up to a whole nother level. Like I say, it raised the stock of the series even more. And so especially when it comes to those who follow, like I said, those who follow Rebels, those who follow Clone Wars, and everything like that. And like I say, this is certainly a very special treat, for the fellow Star Wars fans like myself. So that is my, so as far as that, that is my recap when it comes to Ahsoka. And now, so now of course, moving on to the world of wrestling. This was a day that I never really believed would truly happen. And now, Vince McMahon has sold part of his stock of WWE to his company TKO. So of course, it was him, Bianca Belair, Montez Ford, along with Dana White, Daniel Cormier, and somebody else. I'm sorry, I forgot. Like I said, I forgot the name of one of the other people over there, but they were at the New York Stock Exchange to confirm this official sale, this official transfer of power, this transition, and in fact, not only that, but also Nick Khan was there as well. And like I said, this was the official confirmation of the changing of the guard. And it was very surprising, for a lot of people to find out that see that Vince McMahon is no longer the majority owner of WWE. Since 1982, Vince and Kennedy McMahon has been the majority owner of World Wrestling Entertainment. So now, at 78, he's no longer the majority owner of this company, a company that's passed down from his father. This was a multi-generational company. That this was, a dynasty, a legacy, and so for him to not pass it on to his children, but rather sell it to an outsider, this screams succession. A lot of people have used that as an analogy. A lot of people have used that as a point of reference. And also in honor of National Video Game Day, which was yesterday, which is something I forgot to mention on last night's episode of Turnbuckle Talk. But since yesterday was National Video Game Day, I feel as though it will only be right that I use a video game reference. The McMahon family is reminiscent of the Mishima Empire from Tekken, and Vince is Heihachi. I mean, he's got the mustache to go along with it. But but the thing about it is that Heihachi refused to pass over his empire to his son, and his grandson, and just the rest of that lineage. Same thing with Vince. Vince refused to sell the company to his family, to his children. He refused to do for his children what his dad did for him. Vince became who he became when it came to as far as ownership, because his dad sold the company over to him. But yet Vince would not do that. Vince would not pay it forward, and and do the same thing when it comes to his own kids. And it's just like, you got to give dude the side eye. You know what I mean? But also at the same time, when it comes, and not only that, but the fact that Stephanie was not even there for that. And I think that like I said, when it came to that transition, you had Vince, Triple H, Nick Khan, Bianca, Montez, Dana White, Daniel Cormier, and I forgot who the other things. I forgot who the other person was, but we're all them being there. The fact that neither one of his kids were there, it just speaks volumes, right? It just speaks volumes of the state of Vince McMahon right now. It speaks volumes to the state of WWE. The fact that his very own flesh and blood, his own DNA, would not be able to take over the company, and the fact that Vince would go to his grave not being, the fact that Vince McMahon, would be going to his grave, knowing that he would no longer be the full owner of WWE. The fact that Vince could go to his grave knowing that he did not pass the company down to his very own family, and I mean, and of course, just seeing Vince do that, uh, it almost reminds me of. And so, and funny thing about it is that, let me see. I got this, picture. Sorry about that. But yeah, like I said, the fact, the fact that Vince, would not even, would not even pass the company down to people that, like I said, to people that would be his, son. Like, the fact that he would not pass it down to those, who would be, like I said, his natural successors. You know what I mean? Like that just, I mean, it's just like, like I don't know what else to say about it other than, you know, he would rather trust outsiders more so like the fact that Vince would rather trust outsiders, more so than his own kids. And I feel as though that's just, you know, I'm not even sure, sure what to say about it. It's just very red flaggish, if you will. You know what I mean? Um, so it's fact. Right here. There you go. Walt McMahon, Vince with that mustache, and him making these appearances is very reminiscent of when Walt Disney officially officially launched Disneyland when we first opened Disneyland back in 1955. Disneyland, you had the World of Tomorrow and things like that. It very much gives very strong Walt Disney vibes. Vince looks like Dick Dastardly from for those who've seen Wacky Races. All he has to do is like twirl his mustache, and and I just gotta get my jokes off and stuff like that. Very, very Vincent Price. Like he's about to narrate a thriller. It's just like, and you could tell this guy clearly does not care. This is past midlife crisis level. You know what I mean? Like, for him, it just gives off unhinged. You know, and it gives off unhinged. It gives off disappointed. And in just so many ways. And it's just for him to not pass the torch to his very own lineage. And I mean, like of course, congratulations to congratulations, to the merger with UFC as far like TKO and things like that. And I think I think this merger is why business has changed the way that it has when it comes to just like when it comes to the like it's not like I said, when it comes to just when it comes to just high demand for the product, when it comes to the quality of content, when it comes to because of the fact that even in the midst of Vince's, like I said, trials and tribulations and turbulence and things like that with the controversy, people were still tuning into WWE, and it clearly shows. The numbers show, that the content was still great, even as like I said, even in spite of of his shortcomings of his stuff like that. But yeah, like I said, like saying like I said, the thing about it is that so. Start. I'm going to stop sharing. But yeah, you know, even in the midst of the cloud hanging over Vince's head, people were still tuning in. People were still buying merchandise, and I think this merger, um, I think the impact of this merger is, is clearly showing with such high demand when it comes to these pay-per-views or PLEs. You can definitely see the impact when it comes to, let me get to the point. But you can certainly see the impact of this merger when it comes to this when it came to the ticket sales, when it came to the merchandise sales. Um, you know, the way that WWE was doing record numbers during WrestleMania season, to the point where everything sold out at the Superstore. I mean, it was phenomenal in so many different ways. And this is a WWE in the post John Cena era, you know, and this is a point in history, with all due respect to Roman Reigns, where the brand is bigger than the names in the company, you know. Um, I'm sure, and the thing is, I know that there are people, like, here and there that know of Roman Reigns, but the thing about it is that he's not there. If you're a casual fan, he's not the immediate direct point of reference. There's a lot of people still bring up, uh, toxic, bring up Hogan. I'm going to say his name. Like I say, a lot of people, like, super old schoolish, bring up guys like names like Hogan. They bring up The Rock. They bring up Stone Cold, Undertaker, even, John Cena. But that era is long gone now. And so now this is more so about the brand. And with the way that the brand has been heavily promoted, you know, um, business has escalated like never before. Especially when you look at this post-pandemic era, where business just completely skyrocketed, especially considering the fact that, like I said, especially consider the fact that that WWE, um, you know, cut down so much on their budget during the Thunderdome era, because of the fact that they didn't have to travel so much. They saved money on pyro and things like that. And so, with that being said, they were able, like I said, they were able to focus that on, find ways to create better content. You look at uh, the merger with NBC for Peacock, and like I said, when it comes to subscriptions, and like I said, just when it comes to just this just unseen, like I said, this unheard of demand, um, to the point, like I said, to the point where they're doing absolute just record numbers and things like that. And I firmly believe that, um, you know, like I said, I firmly believe that, that them bringing Nick Khan in, and you know, like I say, and of course, the different business mergers and different business deals that they have established are why, you know, business is the way it is. I also believe that that's the reason why the ticket sales have escalated and just spiked the way that they have. And this was a conversation that several of us had last night on Twitter Spaces, on Turnbuckle Talk, hosted by Mimi, Corey, and Justin on Tuesdays. On of course on Twitter Spaces. I still call it Twitter, not X, but whatever. But like I said, that was that was a huge talking point, and ever since this era of them working with Nick Khan, and like I said, merging with UFC, and like I said, this UFC TKO merger, stuff like that. Like I say, all of a sudden, ticket prices have gone up, and it's just in such business is in so much of a higher demand, to the point where I think now they're catering more towards, you know, a far more casual audience, a far more um, elite, elitish type of audience, and not just the standard grassroots WWE fans, wrestling fans, and stuff like that. They're catering towards, like I said, towards a more upscale audience. Hence, I believe that is why prices have gone up. I believe that's why, so much of their merch, like I said, especially when it came to WrestleMania season, sold out exponentially by the droves. And if like I said, like I said, like I said, the thing about it, of course, for them, like I said, for Vince to sell half his share to an outsider. Once again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but for him to share part of his stock to an outsider, someone that's not even part of the family, it just goes to show what lack of trust that he has for his very own blood. Um, you know, and so certainly the end of an era, the end of the McMahon era. And so it's just like I said, I certainly believe in passing the torch, but to say that it's a tad disappointing would be a bit of a gross understatement, to say the least. Um, you know, and how Stephanie was played a huge part when it came to the streaming standpoint of WWE, you know, and for her to not be present with that, it just doesn't sit right with me. To be honest with you, like the fact that her and Triple H, you know, um, would not be able to inherit a company that Stephanie was literally born into. Like I said, the fact that her and her bloodline would not be able to, um, you know, uh, inherit that. I mean, of course, she's not going to be like, she's not going to be like scrambling for pennies or anything like that. But I feel as though, when it comes to just when it comes to just family and passing things down. But of course, Vince is not a guy that's known for principles, so it's no big surprise to me that he would do something like that. Um, you know, but I'm gonna make, I said like this, I'll make a bit of a transition because of the fact that Monday was Vince McMahon's last um, last episode of Raw, last day in WWE, as the like I said, as the majority owner of WWE, and so like the last major deal that he made before resigning, um, you know, was bringing Nia Jax back, you know, and that was a huge talking point, you know. So now, and of course, so of course on Monday, Rhea defeated her, her women's world championship against Raquel, only for Nia Jax to make a surprise return and attack Raquel and Rhea as well, and so so of course to insert herself into this title picture, and so now Rhea has found someone that's that's bigger than her, more dominant, more powerful than her, and so you know I think the huge criticism, I would say the huge criticism when it comes to Rhea's reign as champion is that there's been a severe lack of competition, and how there's been a severe lack of Rhea's involvement when it comes to the women's division, how she's more focused on things pertaining to the men, especially anything involving Judgment Day, you know, and how she has really not really, but the fact that she has minimized the women's division and how it has been seen as somehow beneath her. But now she has faced her kryptonite. This could be Rhea's humbling process, if you will. You know, of course, with Nia's return, and so I know that there's been a lot of backlash when it comes to Nia Jax's return because of her history when it comes to injuries. But Asuka did step up and defend her on Twitter, and like I said, and of course, and of course, especially for those that want to be critics, let me actually see if I got it. See if I got this picture right here. Mhm. Actually, do have. You know what? Let me go back. Funny thing about it is that, like I said, so, um, but funny thing about it is that I'm actually, I'm actually, so, somewhere. Oh, here it is. I found it. But yeah, funny things. I actually found a screenshot of someone, someone bringing up how Nia Jax injured Kyrie Sane. So so of course Oscar claps back and says wrestlers fight knowing that there is a possibility of injury. Kyrie doesn't blame anyone for her injuries. She is not stupid. But are you a victim? You know, and you know, so all I have to say is that not all heroes wear capes, and Oscar claps back and another hater and says that question is rude and bullying. You're hurting her heart with this question. Are you really a person with a heart? If someone who has not been directly harmed by her denies her, I will fight the society for her. If I am criticized for it, I don't care. You know, um, so of course I think that's so um, I think that's one of the things that endears so many people to when it comes to Oscar, how Oscar is willing to fight for others in the locker room, how she's willing to fight for other women, and how Oscar is willing to take certain stands and not be afraid of the consequences. Let me see. Here's another one. Let me see. But yeah, actually, you know what? Here's the fact. Here's a tweet right here. Let me go and share this one actually. So, sorry to be taking up so much time, but I'm just getting this getting the hang of this whole screen sharing thing right now. But here it is. So of course, there was a fan who replied to Oscar and said, "Look what she did to Frank." Actually, you know what? Let me go over here, right here. Um, Sorry about that. So, Russell Features raised a question. Says thoughts on WWE bringing back Nia Jax, the right move. Fan responds and says, "Look what she did to your friend Kyrie." And Oscar claps back and says that question. And, actually, I'm actually so, Oscar was actually responding to Wrestle Features' question on thoughts on WWE bringing back Nia Jax. So Oscar quote tweets and claps back and says that question is rude and annoying. You're hurting her heart with this question. Yada 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 yada. Everything that I just read. And so so of course underneath the fan was a fan with a Tony Khan avatar. How fitting. Responds and says, "Look what she did to your friend Kyrie." And so, of course, this is when Oscar claps back. And and the funny thing about it is that Oscar is very engaging on Twitter. She has no problem choosing violence. In fact, there's somebody else who says Oscar, she has injured so many people. And so Oscar claps back and says, "Are you the victim? LOL, OL, and stuff like that." And it's just like the thing about it is that Oscar has no problem at all choosing violence. So Oscar's thing is, don't come for me unless I send for you. So that is her way of saying that. So I will say that this is certainly a challenge that Rhea needs to have. So I guess because of the fact that everything is so uncertain when it comes to Randy Orton's return. We're not able to see him RKO Rhea straight to Outworld, basically. But of course, I guess the next best thing would be for Nia Jax, the monster of the women's division. She's not like most girls, as her entrance song says. So for me, I think it's only fitting, for Rhea to have a challenge like this, and for Rhea to be seen more vulnerable. This is to me her humbling process, and it's like I said, you've never seen Rhea in a situation like this all throughout her time as the women's champion, whether it's the Raw Women's Champion, the women's world champion, whatever you want to call her, and stuff like that. Yeah. So I mean, like I said, this definitely poses for um, a very interesting situation when when it comes to the women's world championship going into Fastlane. And of course, speaking of Fastlane, I know that I'm going to be watching it at Party HQ over here in the DMV area. Of course, going to be, of course, the watch party is going to be hosted by none other than friend of the program himself, Dr. D. Going to be of course on October 7th. And of course, I can't wait to be a part of that. And of course, speaking of Party HQ, that is the place where I always go to every Sunday, for each for each Cowboys game. And so of course, like I say, not only I'm going to be watching Cowboys games all season, but of course, thankfully the doors open, to see more WWE PLEs as well. You know what I mean? And like I said, as far as that, and also more, of course, there's even more wrestling news this week. Especially when it comes to NXT. You know, NXT, of course, last night's NXT was great. And of course, the highlight of Slim. Before I even get to the highlight, I like the little swerve between Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker. And how Baron Corbin came out, acting as if he was upset that Braun Breaker took out Von Wagner. So Braun Breaker comes out, and Baron's like, "Psych," I'm just joking. That was great. That was incredible. But Braun's like, "Look, um, I didn't, basically he was saying to him, I didn't do that for you. It wasn't, in so many ways, in his own way of saying, I didn't do that. I wasn't doing that to impress you, and things like that. And so of course, like I said, like I said, I look forward to seeing, what's going to come forth when it comes to like Braun Breaker versus Baron Corbin and stuff like that. So, like I said, so when it comes to top heels in NXT, Braun Breaker is definitely at the top of that list. No question. No doubt about it whatsoever. That same night, we also see Wesley lose his smile and go home. You know, um, so it's just like I'm certain. I'm almost certain they definitely probably had a conversation with Shawn Michaels, and of course, I'm pretty sure that Shawn told him, "Hey, look, I think it's time for you to go home to so Sean was probably telling him like, look, Wes, I think it's probably best for you to go home and find your smile, regain your smile, and when you're ready, like I said, when you're ready to come back, the door's always open, basically. You know what I mean? So I'm just paraphrasing, but yeah, like I said, for me, plain and simple, I could tell that Wes certainly lost his smile after that loss to of course after that loss to Dragunov, and so now it's gonna be Dragunov versus Mello for the NXT Championship. But the biggest highlight out of all this is was last night's main event with Becky Lynch versus Tiffany Stratton, and I know that there are a number of people that are divided on the outcome, divided on this decision. But let me go ahead and say, congratulations to Becky Lynch for becoming the NXT Women's Champion. So now the collection is complete. All four of the horsewomen are now Grand Slam champions. That means they have won every title that has been available to them, from the Raw Women's Championship, SmackDown Women's Championship, Women's Tag Titles, and now the NXT Women's Championship. So all four of them, every last member of the horsewomen are now Grand Slam champions, and they absolutely deserve it because they are 4 of the top 10 greatest women's wrestlers of all time. So it only makes sense, only fitting, you know, that they all, like I said, that they all, like I said, it's only fitting that all 4 of them share those accolades, And so actually, you know what? Let me see something. You know, it's certainly like I said, the thing about it is that when you look at it, they have all made history in so many different ways. So, let me see this. Share this right here. Share this so y'all can actually see it for yourselves. This right here is historic in so many different ways. Becky 2 belts, WrestleMania 35 is now an NXT Women's Champion. I say like it's better late than never. Sasha Banks, artist now, Mercedes Moné, the artist formerly known as Sasha Banks, NXT, of course WWE Grand Slam Women's Champion, the role model of herself, Bayley, as well as the Queen herself, none other than Charlotte Flair. All 4 of them are Grand Slam champions, and like I said, is absolutely remarkable. It's absolutely brilliant, amazing, to see them all reach those heights, and they are in so many different ways legends of this industry. You know what I mean? So I feel like this. They have certainly, in more ways than one, um, you know, uh, like I said, earn their place, as legends. So of course, last night on Twitter, I joked and said that Becky going back to NXT is like a woman going back to her high school. Because you let me start. Becky going back, Becky going back to NXT is like a woman going back to her high school because she was never the homecoming queen or prom queen, or rather like somebody who never even made it to their homecoming or prom in high school. So this is her way of making up for it. So it's just like, hey, better late than never. So if anything, this is more so something to further elevate Tiffany Stratton, to show that she is, to at least for her to be taken more seriously. Not that she wasn't being taken seriously, because Tiffany Stratton is absolutely the real deal. But this, like I said, this is like a further elevation process, and for anyone who takes the belt off of Becky, their stock automatically goes up. Yesterday's price, not today's price. So their price, their value, um, you know, their drawing power automatically goes up even more because you've defeated a legend for the NXT Women's Championship, right? You know, but but the thing about it is that even though I initially picked Tiffany to win, I still did not rule out Becky winning. What I mean. So if anything, I still, if anything, I still wasn't surprised by Becky winning. Just for the sake of padding her resume. You know, and speaking of Becky fans, I want to give a shout out to Stephanie Hypes on Twitter. She is the ultimate Becky Lynch super fan. So so I know she is on top of the world right now. The fact that the man has come back around and is now the NXT Women's Champion, and and won a title that has eluded her for so long. So of course, so of course, hats off to her, and I think it's going to raise the stock of the NXT Women's division. And this is something that's going to occupy Becky. You know, um, to hold things over until it's time for her to have a match with Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, you know, and what I mean. So if anything, like now the NXT Women's division has more demand that than they've had in a very long, in quite a while, And so of course, like I said, in the long run, I'm not upset about it. You know what I mean? So if anything, it's certainly going to bring even more eyes to the product when it comes to the NXT women's division. And you know what I mean? So of course, as far as that, of course, speaking of women's divisions, I want to say congratulations to Impact Wrestling, also known as TNA, for having their 1,000th episode. I think it was like last week. And if you want to talk about a women's division that is like head and shoulders above the rest when it comes to the current wrestling scene, that Knockouts division is the absolute truth. I have to say that myself. That Knockouts division is the real deal. You know what I mean? Like, they are phenomenal in so many different ways. You know what I mean? So as far as that, if anything that is, that's pretty much like been my rundown so far, of all things pertaining to sports as well as entertainment. So as far, and also, before I sign off, part 2 of my wrestling comics series has been released. Um, part 2 of my series of articles, and involving wrestling and comics, involving wrestling and comics has been released. So this is a series that I've done comparing wrestlers to their comic book counterparts. And of course, it's something that many of you will certainly enjoy. For those that love wrestling as well as comics, I feel as though the two go hand in hand. And speaking of that, I'm glad to announce that this Saturday I will be a guest on Backstage Brawl. As we, of course, as we dive even deeper when it comes to this wrestling and comics conversation. I'm proud. I'm proud to announce that. If anything, I certainly look forward to that. Shout out to Eric and Randy. You know what I mean? They're amazing when it comes to interviews. So of course, if they happen to watch, whether it's live or or by way of a replay, thank you very much. Like I said, I appreciate the support. So I look forward to an incredible conversation. And so we're going to be talking a lot of wrestling comics. Maybe throw a jab every now and then when it comes to football. I mean, who knows? You never know. And of course, I have to give another another plug when it comes to my podcast merchandise by way of victoriousones.bigcartel.com. Right now, right now I have a Roman Reigns Wolverine shirt. And so of course, like I said, also make sure to be on the lookout, for upcoming and future merchandise, merchandise to come. And so, of course, I found out that the Monday Night Raw is going to be returning. It's going to be returning to DC in November. So of course I'm not going to hesitate to use that discount. Use that pre-sale code for my tickets. And so just a little cheap plug right over there. And also, let's just say I'm gonna have a rather marquee interview, if you will, coming up for the Victorious Ones podcast. Stay tuned for that. Like I said, it's certainly more details to come pretty soon. So of course I'll just leave it at that. But I thank you very much for those that that have tuned in to another great episode of this podcast. Thank you very much for your support. Like I said, once again, you can follow me on Twitter at 301 King Von Jr. You can follow the podcast Twitter page at Victory Pod 1. You can follow on Instagram at Mr. King Von Jr. and Victorious Ones Podcast. And of course, like I said, once again, my thoughts and prayers go out. My thoughts and prayers go out to the families and victims of those that have been devastated by 9/11 on this 22nd anniversary. Like I said, my thoughts and prayers, love and condolences to those that are still grieving even right now. So of course, thank you very much, and have an incredible evening, and have a great night.